Welcome to Aesthetics Unscripted. I'm your host, Kim, your regenerative aesthetic expert. I'm here in Manhattan live, and I'm so happy to introduce you to Theresa Pinson, like me, a founder and CEO. She operates not one, but two New York med spas. Thank you for coming today, Theresa.
Thank you for having me, Kim.
Please brag up on yourself and let our viewers know all about your journey to get to Virtual Skin Spa and what's your passion behind it.
Sure. So I first came to New York in 2002, and I worked for a company on Fifth Avenue called Skin Clinic. And it was the first time a business and a medical model had blended, and we focused on Botox and fillers. I ended up staying only about a year. I went back to Alabama, my home state, to work for the state government, and I ran a large wellness program. So I've always been passionate about health, wellness, health promotion, education. So basically I took all of those principles and sort of parlayed that into aesthetics.
That's amazing, because I know the hot thing, and it should have been a hot thing from a long time ago, is longevity. So how do we age, not just anti-aging, right, to make our faces look younger, but we realize now, especially here in the United States, we're catching up to the rest of the world, that you can't have a beautiful face and age beautifully without taking care of the inside and your whole body. So to see you be ahead of the game and be passionate about and focus on wellness to bring that forward now to Virtual Skin Spa is fantastic.
Well, it's interesting because I built my entire wellness program around metabolic syndrome, which fast forward, now we have GLP-1s, because all the high cost drivers for the health plan were complications from diabetes, mostly type 2.
Right, that's amazing to put that together, like I said, and move that forward.
That was many years ago.
So let our viewers know, what is your professional background?
Sure. So I'm boarded by the ANCC in family health. And prior to becoming a nurse practitioner, I worked in open heart cardiovascular care. So that's my background. And I did work in plastics for quite a while before I started Virtual Skin Spa. And I got really great education working with surgeons in the OR, running their med spas, doing a lot of Botox and fillers under their direction. So that's sort of where I started. And then fast forward, some of the laws loosened in New York, and as an NP who practiced more than 3,600 hours in her specialty, I was able to obtain my own accounts with Allergan and other companies. And so I made the leap into being an independent practitioner.
Well, I think that is so admirable and honorable, and wow, to me also that you were running a statewide program. How did that come about? That's really something I feel that you should be able to share.
Sure. When I was in graduate school, I worked on a wellness program as part of my thesis, if you will, and the local government said, once you graduate, we would like you to come on board and create a real program or a statewide program. And true to their word, a year after I graduated, they came back. Again, I was already working in New York, but I felt like I needed to revisit that opportunity because they made a spot for me.
Absolutely, and that's just such a huge, beautiful hit on your resume, and to have that kind of responsibility really shows the grit and your organizational skills. Yes. I mean, definitely pat yourself on the back for that.
And I think the program still goes on today.
Yay, that's awesome. So you have, as we said, 2 locations here in New York. Just let everybody know, where do they find you and how do they follow you on social and your website?
So you can find us at Virtual Skin Spa, and you can find my personal at Theresa Pinson. And we have locations in Jericho in the Atrium Building, and then we are on the Upper East Side, at this time only one day a week on Wednesdays, at Joseph Battisti Salon.
So let's talk about the art behind injection, because I feel like with every year that's gone by in the last 5 years, every big city in America has turned into the Wild West. We've got 10,000, it seems like, new injectors popping out of the woodwork every time I turn around. And unfortunately, it seems like a theme to not worry about continuing education or practice. So we've got a lot of people throwing needles at patients. They don't know what they're doing. They're buying off-label, really inexpensive injectables. They're having all kinds of crazy health issues with it, allergic reactions, wild asymmetry, migration. These are not approved products by companies that we know, like Galderma, Juvederm with Juvederm, etc., Allergan with Botox. It's insane. So being such a long-term professional that understands art and education and the need to really give respect to not just the patient, but the product that you're putting into the patient. Can you please, let's just unpack that whole thing.
I think rheology of filler is important, and I don't think we talk enough about that amongst ourselves. I've been very fortunate in my career. I have been with some of the top companies. They're actual scientists, so I have had the opportunity to learn a lot about rheology. Not every filler is meant to be injected in certain areas of the face. You've got to have respect for, I don't want to get too scientific, but you've got to have respect for how much the filler provides lift, how much it provides. You want a filler in very mobile areas like your laugh lines, your lips, to be able to be very elastic. Some fillers are meant to be injected very superficially for crepey, fine lines. And I think that as a new beginner injector, or maybe not a seasoned injector, they're just chasing lines and filling folds, and they're not giving respect to the full continuity of the face.
Right, and then also the different bore sizes of your needles. Are you using a cannula? Are you not using a cannula, right? I mean, these are all things that you need to come up under a mentor, and if you don't have a mentor, keep continuing with your education, right? Get every class that you can afford and get in there before you start treating the general public. I mean, it's about practice.
I've been using a cannula pretty much exclusively for the past 10, 12 years. And when I brought my RN on board, she's been with me about 6 years now, she went straight to cannula. So she's had a lot of opportunity as well. And I have mentored her to make sure that, and cannula is important to make sure you're in the right plane, at the right depth for safety. To reduce the risk of occlusion, which could be catastrophic.
So can you explain that a little further to our viewers?
The facial artery supplies your entire face throughout with blood supply. And if a needle is inadvertently injected into one of those branches of the facial artery, it can result in blindness, it can result in tissue compromise. So safety always first, and the size of the cannula is important as well. You want a larger bore cannula, so it acts less like a needle. And unfortunately, not everyone is trained on cannula technique, but I think that it's gold standard when it comes to injecting patients.
Right. See, that's why it's so important, I think, to be able to share the journey and the understanding of someone such as yourself.
When I first started aesthetics, we leaned more into surgical anatomy. And it wasn't until about, I would say, 8 years ago that true injection anatomy came to fruition. And then we discussed more about the depth of the vessels, where they lie in the tissue, in the dermis. And that's just as important as knowing surgical anatomy.
And where the nerves are, right? Because I'm seeing like a lot of these crash courses, these 2-hour online courses, or these 1 or 2 hour in-person courses where they're like, ooh, pay us a couple $1,000, we'll give you this little ultrasound handheld so you can see where all the nerves are. Forgetting about the different layers of the face, forgetting about angles, and like you said, what are you using to inject? Injectable wise, and then what are you using to inject needle versus cannula, and then what about the blood supply? I mean, there's just, to me, on my side of it, I'm always shocked and dismayed to see how few of these new injectors, and if you're a new injector and you do your continuing education, don't throw the hate, because I love you, but I'm talking about the ones that don't, and it's just like, to me, it's crazy to think that, you know, I can touch your body and I can put things into your body and I don't know anything about what I'm doing. Like, where does that mentality come from?
Lack of ethics, maybe?
Absolutely. And chasing the dollar?
I chase patient outcomes.
So while we're talking about injectables, let me know, how do you feel about all the potential new patients that come into either one of your clinics with a picture or some such raving about the latest TikTok trends? God help us.
There's a lot of misinformation out there. In fact, one of the things that my office staff, Alexis, we've started our own sort of TikTok channel, Regenerative Delusions.
Oh, nice.
And
I love that.
We're dropping episodes twice a week.
Excellent. Oh, I'm definitely going to be a follower. I think that's fantastic. That sounds like a whole new session that we could sit in on together. While we're on the subject of injectables, I saw on your website menu of services something that was like, ooh, what is this? Trapezius slimming. Tell me about that.
So we all know as women, we hold our shoulders like this, especially when we're working. So we actually take neuromodulator, and you can inject it along the trapezius muscle, and it sort of releases some of that tension, allowing your shoulders to look a little leaner, less bulk, more refined, more like a ballerina.
Well, that's very cool. But then that also, when you say ballerina, to me, that means you could actually help assist a patient with better posture.
Exactly.
This is really cool because I honestly have never seen trapezius slimming on someone's menu of services.
Talking about lymphatics, going back to fillers, we all know that the hyaluronic acids are made of sugar,
Right.
okay? And some are more hydrophilic. And one thing I've noticed in my career, which spans a while now, that as women age and they start going through perimenopause, they get a lot more inflammation and their lymphatics become sluggish. And that's when I notice bottom heaviness of the face, maybe opening up or waking up in the morning with puffy eyes, maybe heavy eyelids. And it's not necessarily the filler, it could just be the sluggish lymphatic. So we educate them on how to do lymphatic drainage. And also it's made me more aware of which filler to choose for perhaps the lower face. I've only ever used Bellatero under the eye because that's the one that's FDA approved and it has the less propensity to hold water.
Exactly. And again, this is driving forth the reason why you need extreme education, because there are a lot of different products out there for providers to use. Between fillers and neurotoxins, it's a whole new world. And as you mentioned, everyone is geared toward a different part of the face, different part of the body, different uses. So Sculptra is not your Juvederm, is not your Juvederm Kiss, etc. We could go on about this for an hour just on the different fillers and neurotoxins. So Daxxify, Juve, Botox, the first, and we still call it Botox even when we mean Daxxify or something else, the majority of us. So let's speak a little bit about all of that and educate our viewers on what's the difference, because I know Dax is the most recent one, that's Daxxify, and super fast acting. But I also find for new injectors super scary because it's super fast acting and very easy to have a lot of asymmetry with inexperience and Daxxify. So what's your opinion?
I always tell my patients they all have the same active ingredient, which is a 150 kilodalton molecule. Now, how they're made, manufactured, processed, that's the key. But they all basically are created equal because the kilodalton molecule is what goes into the synapse and blocks acetylcholine. And after that, it's just about the carrier proteins. When you talk about Xeomin being the naked Botox, that's because it removes the carrier proteins when it's processed. In my experience, Daxxify, they promised us it was going to last longer. It's 3 times as expensive. I did a trial in my office.
We're not seeing the longevity,
Not
right?
seeing the longevity. So why do I want to suggest that to my patient? They're paying 3 times the price and they're not getting the longevity.
Right.
So that's just my personal experience. I find in my practice they all pretty much work the same. It is also about dilution. You know, patients are shocked when they realize that all the neuromodulators come freeze-dried. And we actually take them through the process because patients have overheard me say to staff, could you go mix a Xeomin or a Jeuveau? And they're like, oh, you're watering it down? And I'm like, no, and I will open a box and show them it's a film or a powder in a tiny vial. So some people or some providers or they don't mix their neurotoxin according to the PI or what's in the product information guide. They may add more water, they may add less, and sometimes you want a more concentrated dilution. Rarely do I want an over-concentrated dilution unless I'm working, like doing a hyperhidrosis, which is underarm sweating. I think where you can get into trouble is in the lower face, and that's where we get a lot of great results for jawlines, for snatching the jawline without filler, for relaxing the platysma, allowing the cheeks to elevate. And when I'm working in that area, you want to make sure that you're using a very concentrated solution because the muscles on the lower face sometimes are just a millimeter apart.
Right, and very strong, built
And
up
very
from
strong.
chewing and talking and expressions throughout your entire life. So it's like major voided out biceps, right? So all of this is strong. Like with TMJ, I think, isn't that how we, as an industry, discovered jawline slimming through TMJ treatments?
Yes.
But that is also, from my understanding, a lot more a neurotoxin that's going to be more costly than, say, doing your glabella and your forehead because you need a lot of units to be able
Correct.
to help relax this area.
Typically 20 to 40 on each side.
Okay, amazing. I could sit here and listen to you talk all day long because I just love how specific you are about it, and it's very natural. You obviously know what you're talking about, and this is what I'm talking about. Don't just jump on your latest Groupon and be like, oh my God, this is only like, I can get Botox for $40 in 3 areas. What? I would just run. I wouldn't even walk away from a place like that. I would be so scared. So another really interesting menu item of service that I noticed on your website is Ozempic face treatment. So I jumped on right away because as a founder and CEO, not just of a clinic, but also of Somacell, non-surgical facelifting treatment, I thought it was going to be another device. And I'm like, ooh, I want to see what device you're using. And then I saw it's not. So tell me all about that.
When I'm dealing with a patient that's have significant weight loss, we always discuss tightening first. So that's our philosophies are very similar. Regardless of the modality, you want to tighten the skin envelope first. Then I prefer to use products like Radiesse, Hyperdilute, or Sculptra, which are both biostimulators, different but similar in that they stimulate your body's own collagen and elastin production, which is going to be, number one, more natural, more volumizing, and that more... I mean, think about it. A syringe of Voluma, if you're going to use it in the cheek because it has a high G prime, is 1 cc, which is less than a teaspoon. I can mix a vial of Sculptra and have 12 of those cc's to then inject the face, depending on the dilution, anywhere from 8 to 12. With Radiesse, some new indications have come out with Hyperdilute Radiesse. So basically, we take a syringe of Radiesse, we mix it with a cc of sterile saline, and now we've got 2 cc's or 2 syringes to help replace some of the structure support of the face.
That's fantastic. So I know you have a host, like me, you have a host of different devices there, and I'm just going to put in a quick plug. I am going to send you some information and see, I want to get your feedback. This is not a sales pitch. I would love to get your feedback on Somacell because this is the first truly non-invasive facelifting and body sculpting device that we have here in the U.S. That is not heat. It's not dermal wounding. It's not heat. That means it's truly pain-free. And what we've been seeing in clinic over the last almost 5 years now is neurotoxin and filler longevity is being extended naturally because we're not fighting the body. We're not doing controlled wounding through a heat-based device. So we're not lasering your face. We're not using ultrasounds. We're not damaging you. We're working with the body through regenerative processes, repair and regeneration. FDA approved, goes back to the year 1997 in the beginning, and then really hardcore worldwide use in medical indications since the year 2000. So that's all I'm going to say because I think it's exciting that we could still say love your fillers, or if you're afraid of your fillers and you love your neurotoxins or whatever it is, you could actually use a device that is an FDA approved that can help you to lift and tighten your skin with no sun withdrawal time, with no pain, and you can come in and inject immediately after a treatment. So you can combine it in one appointment.
I would love to look more into Soma technology. I recognized probably 5 years ago that my patients were coming in saying, they've heard so much negative on social media, even in the news, about how fillers were migrating. People are moving toward more natural. I purchased Morpheus 8 and 21. I was one of the initial adapters of that. Went on to buy M-Face in 23, and we recently, last year, purchased BBL Moxie. So we really are positioning ourselves as more of a clinic that offers tightening first and then fillers secondly.
Right, and these, again, from an expert, you can combine these treatments, and it's not just throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. There's a rhyme and a reason behind your heat-based devices, your non-heat-based devices. When are you going to throw in a hydrofacial as well with your neurotoxins, with your fillers? Bring it all together, and I love that. And when you said Morpheus 8, I knew you had an M8, and I was going to ask you about that because we've had this filler fear. We've had backlash now to RF microneedling, especially with the FDA blanketed warning. And I don't feel that the general public has had enough education and understanding that there is a difference between every device. But with a high-powered device like Morpheus 8, it's really provider dependent on your education.
You have to know your settings,
absolutely,
and your depth,
absolutely,
and the intensity,
and you can get a fantastic result. You don't have to run scared. Clinics like Virtual Skin Spa are not just going to use one setting on every single patient that walks in the door. Correct?
Correct. In some areas like back fat, bra line fat, we want to destroy fat. We want to tighten and destroy fat at the same time. With the face, we use very tried and true settings for facial tightening. No fat destruction.
See, and that's fantastic also, because even though it's non-invasive and even though it's not heat, it's not destruction, working over the lung tissue in specific with Somacell is like the one, there's only two no-fly zones. The esophagus itself, you can work the sides of the neck, and over the lungs. So if you have bra fat and you have back fat, then, we could work, say, love handles and waist, but then what are you going to do about something higher? And that's when you can combine with an expert such as yourself, and you could safely use something like Morpheus 8 and get a beautiful result. So when it comes to enhancement and doing things naturally, especially with the advent of getting healthier, focusing more on longevity, and then including GLP-1s. There's not a lot of natural fat to go around with a lot of patients across the country to be able to do conventional liposuction and then use that fat to transfer it to do things like correcting hip dips or correcting dimples in your buttocks. So a company's come out, Tiger Medical, with a product called AlloClay, and it's extremely sterilized cadaver fat. But you're a provider, and there are not a lot of providers across the country yet because it's new, but it's a very reputable company with a wildly scientific processing of this fat. So can you tell me about that?
I actually had the opportunity to meet the CEO. She's very smart, and originally Tiger Aesthetics is a wound care company, so they have a lot of experience with cadaver fat. And I was also impressed. They harvest the fat very ethically, and you can actually go on their website and become a donor. So most of the fat is taken from women, their abdomen, and it is purified, and we use it to inject into the buttock, hip dips, providing volumization, lift. Prior to AlloClay, we use Radiesse and Sculptor, sometimes a combination, but it takes a lot of product. Right. And so with the advent of AlloClay, it's going to give us more, I believe, natural, more of a bounce, if you will. That's what I noticed. and more longevity and higher patient satisfaction.
Absolutely.
And it's very safe.
And you could use it for corrections in other areas of the body as well, right? For people that have dimples or traumatic scarring that is
Traumatic
indented.
scarring, and also after bad liposuction, patients that are left with, irregularities.
The first thing I thought when you said ethically sourced is that, hey, listen, viewers, they're not out there digging up graves in midnight in Potter's Field.
Yeah.
So excellent point, though, because I think that's very much in our industry as we're talking about AlloClay. Honestly, it's the first time I've heard anybody except AlloClay bring that up. So again, I applaud you with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's talk about your virtual skin spa philosophy, because again, I want to just remind the viewers that we're saying that who and what you are, you've built that into the fiber of your clinics. So this was chasing patient outcomes, not chasing the almighty dollar. I know that means that will turn you away sometimes, especially if you were like raving about some trends on social media that's bad for you. So just share the challenges of that and how your passion and your beliefs are embedded into your clinics.
We sort of use VSS as an acronym, and we are committed to treating every patient like they're a very special someone. And that's our tagline. And we live and die by that. And also, I'm going to go back to what you said about the ethics, about the AlloClay. That was really important to me. I was sitting in the class getting ready to go and inject AlloClay for the first time. I was like, where did this fat come from? I really want to know, like, are they, finding, how are the source, where is it coming from? And they have an entire website dedicated to their Cadaver program, and I highly respect that. So I think my success, I've had a great team through the years, and more importantly, we've really focused on science. I mean, trends come and go. Science stays, and evolution is important. Every year I meet with Tom, who manages my website, among other things, and we discuss the ASPS data. Like, where as an industry is this going? What are patients dropping off of? And that does give you good information because they're the ones out there getting the treatments.
Yes.
And I think also listening to your patient. Like, if someone tells me that they had bad filler, I want to know every detail. Not who did it. I want to know, where was it put in your face? Do you know what product you have? Many times they don't even know. Right. And that shocks me. And so transparency, I think, is key. We always tell patients, which filler we're using and why, and explain to them how we're going to inject it, review the risk-benefit. So it's just a trust that you develop over the years.
And that's so important.
And then the word of mouth. So once you have one, you have I like to say, birds of a feather fly together. Once you get one in the flock, typically they all come, and typically they all stay.
Yes, the patients for life, because it is that relationship that you can rely on. Also, when patients are coming, myself in my career, and I'm sure you do too, experience this where we're busy, we're wearing many different hats, and as much as we love you, we cannot take all the new patients ourselves. We don't have enough time in the day. So how do you handle that? Because I know it's like a constant mantra where everyone in the clinic is highly educated for each thing in their lane. Do not be afraid to come in. You're going to get like the most fantastic treatment from the most educated person available on that day and at that time, correct?
Correct. As I said, I handpicked Sage, my RN, and spent several years grooming her. And so she does take a little bit of my overflow. If it's a skin-related question or consult, I will allow them to meet with my medical esthetician. Again, we all have similar philosophies. We've been together for 10 years, so we have a lot of continuity in the care.
So, Theresa, tell us anything new, exciting on deck? Not that your day-to-day is not exciting. Every patient coming in, I'm sure, is just like chomping at the bit. But anything new?
Yes. 3 months ago, we partnered with Well Labs Plus, and I think they're going to help us continue to grow the practice. And their goal is to expand throughout the U.S., and our philosophies aligned, and that's very exciting. It takes a little pressure off me.
Well, it's been fantastic. I definitely want to circle back and have you back here to hear about your ongoing evolution and growth and to see what you feel and how you feel about Somacell. And you could follow us. Please like, comment, and share. Aesthetics Unscripted on YouTube, and you could go to @somacellskin.com or any social @Somacell. And please don't forget to follow Theresa on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but remind us of all your happenings and your tags.
Yes, so I have my personal Instagram, Theresa_Pinson, and we've just started our TikTok, which is Regenerative Delusions. That's Alexis and I, and those drop on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We deal with some of these delusions of social media.